Welcome back. Senator Lindsey Graham making his case for more sanctions against Moscow. Speaking before world leaders and diplomats in Germany this morning at the G20 meeting, Senator Graham promised tough congressional action on Russia for trying to undermine the presidential election in the U.S. and urging President Trump to join those efforts. Listen.
I hope he will embrace the idea that as the leader of the free world, he should be working with us to punish Russia. And to my friend, Mr. Lavrov, I hope you finally suffer some consequences of what you and your regime have been doing to democracies. 2017 is going to be a year of kicking Russia in the ass in Congress.
Joining me right now is George Mitchell, former Senate Majority Leader and former chairman of the Mitchell Commission on Israeli-Palestinian Violence. Good to see you, Senator. Thanks so much for joining us. So what's your take on what Russia is doing right now? They've got a spy ship just miles off of the East Coast. You heard what Lindsey Graham just said. Would you like to see more sanctions against Russia?
Well, the first step is, of course, to retain the current sanctions, and that's a huge issue. When Russia violated international law at Putin's direction in both the Crimea and Ukraine, the United States led the effort to impose sanctions. The Europeans joined us, even though their economies are much more adversely affected by the sanctions than ours. They do a lot of business with Russia. We don't. Now, of course, they're alarmed to see that the president and Trump are apparently close, and there's a possibility that the sanctions might not be retained. I think they should be. Obviously, the U.S. and Russia having a good relationship would be good for us and for them. But we should not overlook the fact that the current state of tensions arises because of a violation of international law by Russia. And that's what's caused the current problem.
Now, we don't know, just to be fair, how President Trump feels about this. I mean, he has said a number of times, I don't know Putin, I've not met Putin, I'm not saying that I like him necessarily as a person, I'm just saying we want to try to have a relationship. So are you against how the president has been sort of, coloring this?
Well, he has said those things. What he has not said is that the United States supports continued sanctions on Russia as a result of their actions in Crimea and Ukraine. Secondly, Vice President Pence's statement in Europe yesterday was very welcome, because the president also had previously said that NATO is obsolete and that said Brexit is a good thing and other countries should leave. The European Union and NATO were created as part of a peace project following the Second World War. They have been bulwarks of stability in Europe and in other parts of the world. We should be strongly supportive of them. So, yes, I agree. You described what he said. I'd like to see him say that NATO, him, not Pence, although Pence spoke very well on it, that NATO is critical to our security and our future and to stability in Europe, and we support the European Union as well.
Yeah, maybe the vice president is recognizing that he wants to make sure to fill in the blanks and to say what he believes the president is thinking but hasn't said yet with regards to Russia.
Well, he said, to his credit, he said he is speaking for President Trump, and that's a good thing. But I hope that at the next NATO summit, when it's the leaders of the states, that the president himself will make the same kind of statement that Pence made this week.
Your assessment on what we just saw with General Flynn being forced to step down as National Security Advisor. We don't know really the contents of the phone call. Did he do anything wrong by talking about potential sanctions? He can't make any promises. He didn't even have the job yet.
Yeah, well, as the president made clear, he was fired not because of the call or the content of the call, and I don't know what was said yet. I haven't seen a transcript. I suppose neither of you. So we have to withhold judgment on that. But he was let go because he misled the vice president.
That's right.
In terms of describing what he discussed.
Right. I just wanted to make it clear that it's not necessarily any conversation that he may have had in specifics within that conversation, but the way he characterized it to the vice president. I mean, well, and that is a...
That's the reason why he was not retained. We can't make a final judgment on what he said or didn't say in the conversation until we know what he said or didn't say. Well, that's been allegations made.
And real quick on this Russian spy ship cruising off the coast of the U.S. What is that
it's
about?
in international waters. It's obviously a provocative action, but the United States sends ships around the world, and we protect and defend the right of all nations to travel in international waters. I think it's a deliberate act by Putin, in this case, to be provocative, because that's the way he keeps attention of the Russian people off of the problems they have. Their economy is in deep trouble. It's contracted in the last 2 years. 55% of their federal budget comes from a direct tax on oil and gas, and the break-even point is oil at $110 a barrel. It's way below that. Nobody expects it to achieve that level, so they're facing a huge budget deficit. Their population is declining, and the only part of the population that's going up is the Muslim population, with which he has so much trouble. So he's got a lot of problems. And let me tell you one other thing. There's a lot of talk about Russia because they do have a nuclear arsenal. That makes them a world player. But Russia's economy is smaller than Canada, smaller than South Korea. It's half the size of California's economy. So we have to keep this in perspective. We are the world's superpower, and we should not lose perspective over these provocations that are coming, and deal with them, I think, in a strong and effective way. But keep in mind, there's only one superpower in the world now.
Thank you for your assessment, Senator.
Thank you.
Good to see you, as always, Senator George Mitchell there. And more than a year ago, we had on one guest here who said when oil prices are plummeting, Putin is going to do something because he deals in conflict. And like clockwork, that is exactly what he did. He moved into Crimea. We're going to have that guest back with us this morning, Garry Kasparov, former chess champion, and he is going to talk about these new provocations from Russia with our panel weighing in next. That's next on Sunday Morning Futures. Back in a moment. Welcome back. Vice President Pence meeting with NATO leaders in Belgium tomorrow. Mr. Pence aiming to ease concerns with our NATO allies. In Germany, as yesterday, the vice president stressed the need for all NATO members to step up. Our panel today, Ed Rollins, former White House advisor to President Reagan, Lee Carter, president and partner at Mesklansky Plus Partners, and former world chess champion and now activist Garry Kasparov, chairman of the New York-based Human Rights Foundation and author of Winter is Coming, Why Vladimir Putin and the Enemies of the Free World Must Be Stopped. Good to see everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Garry, let me kick this off with you on Russia, because you were so smart. More than a year ago, you came on this program and said Russia's economy is plummeting, oil prices are plummeting, Putin's going to do something because he only knows how to trade in conflict. That's exactly what he did by going into Crimea.
Absolutely. He, for quite a while, he made confrontation with the free world, especially with the United States, a core of his domestic propaganda. So that's why, facing, inevitable problems, Russian economy, he will be stepping on conflicts at any possible direction.
So what happens now?
I don't know where Putin is going to strike, but I know exactly that he will strike, and it's only a question of when.
He put you in jail twice in Russia, isn't that right?
It was just very, short time. So considering to what's happening with my friends and colleagues afterwards, that was, you may call vegetarian time.
Right. No, I know, but I'm trying to make sure people understand, what this person is capable of firsthand.
Oh, absolutely. Look, it's over 17 years he's in power. He shifted Russia from, unstable democracy to almost a totalitarian state with fascist ideology.
Ed Rollins, this came up a little at the rally yesterday, but by all accounts, that rally yesterday was all about love for the president.
Well, it was very important. I think the first month is over. We have 47 more months in this term, and I think we ought to measure it by that. He announced he's going to run for re-election, clearly, and I think he had kind of a shaky last part of his week, but I think this rally has given him the energy. He needs to get out of the town from time to time and get reinforced. He's still got a long ways to go to get his legislative stuff through, but all in all, he got his cabinet, with one exception, who's sort of self-destructed, and I think to a certain extent, losing his national security advisor, losing his labor secretary, he may be able to replace them with people who are not as controversial and better long-term for him.
So was that what that was about yesterday, a campaign rally?
Absolutely. I think what happened is the middle of the week, including the big press conference, which he just spontaneously called, is he wants to get back and get reinforced. He wants to get back to the people. And I think that at the end of the day, it gives him energy.
Was he successfully?
I think so. I mean, we have had this narrative for the last 4 weeks that the White House is in disarray, that he's making all kinds of mistakes, that we're talking about General Flynn, we're talking about Russia, and he's on, they're all on their heels. And then he's looking at this and he says, I'm going to control the message. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to give a press conference. And I'm not just going to give any press conference, I'm going to give a sensational
I'm going to give raw Donald Trump.
And we're all talking now about that. It's like Donald Trump is going to be Donald Trump. And then he goes and gives a rally and he's back to his message. You see the number of people, the excitement. He pulls the guy out, Gene, whatever his name was, from the crowd, and everybody loves it. It's absolutely changing the conversation. We're no longer sitting there going, well, what happened with Flynn and Russia?
Yeah.
We're now saying, wow, is he running again? Look at this. Is people really that excited?
That was the strategy.
It was a really, really interesting and smart move by him.
What we are seeing is Donald Trump is exactly what Donald Trump was when in the course of the campaign. All these people thought he's going to get in the Oval Office, he's going to change, he's going to be a different person, have different advisors. We're totally wrong. 70-year-old men don't change. And this is a very strong-willed man, and he's going to continue to do it the way he wants to do it. And obviously he's got a big legislative agenda ahead of him. That may alter a little bit, but Donald Trump is what he is, and he's going to polarize this country, and he's going to be for him or against him.
Gary, how do you see it?
Exactly. He's going to polarize this country. I think the rally yesterday was a big push for Keith Ellison because, it's on the other side, you will see more energy from the Democratic base. So the country will be more polarized. I don't think it's good for sort of long-term agenda.
But, the agenda right now, we're talking about tax reform and Obamacare replacement getting done.
Well, he certainly has the Congress is going to move it forward, and until he gets very unpopular, which I don't think that's going to happen in the next year, he's going to get his legislative victories. They may not be perfect, but they're going to be legislative victories.
All right, we will leave it there. Great to see you all. Thank you so
Great
much.
to be here.
That'll do it for Sunday Morning Futures. I'm Maria Bartiromo. I will see you next week on Mornings with Maria, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern on the Fox Business Network. Stay with Fox News. Media Buzz begins right now. Here's Harry Kurtz.